And welcome to Under Review. Usually it's just me talking about, national sports and Colorado sports, but we actually have a guest, Will Vogel here. You know him from Basket Bros and a bunch of other sideline network shows. How you doing, Will?
I'm doing good, Jordan. I'm doing good. Just chilling out on a Sunday, watching a little bit of soccer, and then watching probably a little bit of college basketball. But I'm doing good, man. Glad to be here.
This is, the time of year, especially with college basketball. I mean, it doesn't get any better than this. I know we're not going to dive into that, but I mean, March Madness, you gotta love it. I didn't even realize that the tournament started in a few weeks. That's how my mind has been. But I've been focusing on other sports. Plus, kind of hard to really, I want to say, care about the college basketball until the tournament starts since CU hasn't had a good season, nor has CSU. So it's been kind of tough there.
Yeah, my Tar Heels lost last night in a hard-fought game against Duke, and the percentage of us making the tournament is very slim. We would probably have to win out the whole ACC tournament, which unfortunately, I love our guys, or I love our players, how they fight. We're not good enough to win that whole ACC tournament because you got Miami, Virginia, you got Duke. No,
It's very
sorry.
tough.
I would love for us to be in it, but just
Hey, you
we
never
did
know.
not execute.
If you never know. If you make a big run, you never know.
That's what
But
they're saying.
then again, you have the NIT, which I call the not invited tournament.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. We can win that. That's fine.
So let's dive into our topics here. The NHL trade deadline was Friday. We got some major deals down, and honestly, the biggest one to me, and I'm sure you're going to agree, is Patrick Kane going to the Rangers. I will say this: Frankie James, who, for those of you who don't know him, he's been on my show before. He's the Flyers guy. In my preview of the NHL, he actually said this was going to happen. I was like, "There's no way Patrick Kane's going to go to the Rangers." Well, he was correct. And the thing is, though, it's going to help him in the long run. Right now, I think they're just having growing pains. They're 0-2 with him. I saw the Bruins game yesterday, and honestly, a lot of what happened yesterday was not on him. It was, as we all know, your defense can break down, your offense didn't get going, but that wasn't on him. But if you look at what they have, this is a team that's going to make a deep run. You've got Patrick Kane, Panarin, Michael Zibanejad, and obviously they got Tarasenko. Who is going to beat this team in the
And you
East?
have Lafreniere.
Exactly. I mean, the only team that I can see beating this team really is the Boston Bruins. But then again, you can get the Bruins on an off night, and I would honestly take the Rangers, what they have now, over the Bruins. Sure, you have Brad Marchand and you have, a lot of good players. But honestly, as we all know, the playoffs are such a different ball
I
game. I
got
mean,
two teams. I got two teams in the East that can upset them: the Bruins, and here's the long shot, the Carolina Hurricanes.
I could see the Hurricanes because they almost did it last year trying to go far. And that is a team to be reckoned with. That I believe they lost in the first or second round, but even so, that was a team that was I'm going to say a little disappointing just because they couldn't get it done at home. But they're still a dangerous team. Again, once you get to the playoffs, anything is possible. As for the
So,
Bruins, go ahead.
oh, go ahead. Go ahead. You're
Okay.
good.
I was just going to say the other minor trade, if you want to call it, was the Bruins acquiring Tyler Bertuzzi. I just think this guy is going to be secondary scorer, but I mean his numbers aren't that great. 4 goals and 10 assists, but you're still adding depth to that team. So what were you going to say? Well,
I forget who's the teammate that played with Kane on the Blackhawks. That's on the Rangers. Kadri, right?
oh, I honestly don't know. I'd have to look at
So
the
it's
roster.
funny because they showed his old teammate who now plays for the Rangers when Kane got to practice. You just hear on the ice, Kaner, Kaner, and Kane's like, "Hey man, long time no see." So it was awesome to see that. Tarasenko is also a huge signing. Yeah, that team on the Rangers with Shesterkin and net, man, that team, if they can tighten up their defense, that team, I told someone after the deadline, if they can tighten up their defense, that team's most likely going to be in the Eastern Conference or the Stanley Cup Finals representing the East.
I mean, you look at last year's run; they went all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals. Unfortunately, a couple of bad bounces, and they could have been playing the Colorado Avalanche in the Stanley Cup Final. I actually wanted that matchup rather than Tampa Bay, but you're right. If their goaltender does what he did last year, watch out. That's what all you need is a hot goaltender. But if I look at the Colorado Avalanche, we made two little moves, and honestly, they weren't that big of a deal. We got Jack Johnson. For those of you who don't know him, he was a defenseman last year, bottom five defenseman. Who he's just a physical player. He's going to help. Actually, I mean, we're right now in the wild card spot. He's going to help us once the playoffs come. And a guy that it wasn't a big move. We got Lars Eller, secondary scoring. What I really wanted though was a second line center. That's the one thing we missed when Kadri left. Is the Avalanche do not have the second line center who can score. We're still looking for that. I was a little disappointed that I wanted Brian O'Reilly from St. Louis just because of his time in Colorado. He goes to Toronto. I heard James Van Riemsdyk was out there. We didn't get him. Max Domi, we didn't get him. I just think the Avalanche are just looking at this going, okay, once we get healthy, we're going to make a deeper run, so we didn't need to do much. But I still thought they really whiffed on the second line center.
Yeah, so I'm a Hurricane/Penguin fan. It's kind of weird. They're rivals. They hate each other. But I grew up. I loved Crosby when he got drafted. I fell in love with the Penguins. I'm a Hurricanes fan because I live here. The Hurricanes got Ghost of Pierre from the Coyotes. I don't know much about the guy. And we also got Pula Jujarvi from the Oilers. So I don't know much about them. Hopefully they can do well because I know the Oilers are a fun team. They've got Draisaitl and McDavid, and they're a fun team. They love to have fun on that team. The Coyotes, they're not good. So
I would use a different description of the Coyotes, but I can't really say it here on air.
Yeah. And then the Penguins got Granlund from the Predators, and the Predators are always a consistent team. So, yeah, we'll see what these trades do with the Penguins and the Hurricanes, but definitely the Rangers won the trade deadline, as we said.
Yeah. And now, well, looking at our Avalanche, I'm just talking about the Avalanche right now, but looking at our teams, I should say, the Avalanche right now, they stand at 34 wins, 21 losses, 5 overtime losses for 73 points. If anyone watched yesterday's game against the Stars, the Avalanche simply didn't show up. They basically, it was a 2-1 game, and then after that, it was 6-1. I stopped watching. But if you're really looking at that game, it was just a lot of defensive bad play. I'm going to say they left so many people wide open. I felt sorry for our goaltender Alexander Georgiev, but that's going to happen. But it's the second time we've allowed 7 goals. I mean, you could argue the game against the Devils, we gave up 6, but an empty net gave them 7. But if you look at this, the Avalanche right now sit in the second wild card spot in the Western Conference. I'm not too worried about them right now because, if they win tonight, they'll be in third. The thing about them is once they get healthy, especially when Landeskog comes back, we haven't seen him all year. This is a team that's going to be tough to beat. I mean, you look at what they can do. They have firepower with Arturi Lehkonen, Nathan McKinnon, Valery Nichushkin. I will say, as we like to call him, Choo-Choo, Valery Nichushkin didn't even play yesterday, and that's kind of where the offense fell off. But Mikko Rantanen, I could go on and on with this team.
How's Kale playing?
He's been all right. I mean, he was been out the last 2 games before yesterday with the concussion, but he's been, consistent, a consistent defensive player, which is what you want. So how do you feel about your 2 teams? I mean, you kind of mentioned them.
I feel good about the Hurricanes. They're a good team. They're one of the best teams in the East, along with the Bruins and the Rangers. The Penguins, I hate saying it. Crosby's getting old. Gensel's getting old. Oh gosh, who's the Letang, and Malkin? They're all getting old, and Yari's a fun goalie to watch, but I just feel like this team could be out in the first round, and if they make it to the second, it's not going to be pretty. So it's a rough going for the Penguins. For the Hurricanes, I just hope can go far.
Well, I mean, the Canes, you look at it right now, they're first in the Metropolitan Division. So you're going to have, if that stays, you're going to have home ice for the first two rounds. And that's really going to benefit you guys, especially since we saw last year. You once you went on the road, that went away. But you know what? You won a game 7 at home. That's what it's all about. I mean, I know we talk about how home ice really doesn't matter, but where would you rather play in a game 7? In your home building or on the road? Personally,
Exactly.
I'd rather do it at home because you got your fans there. But the thing is, though, I think your Canes are fine. The Penguins, they have to fight to get the playoffs. If they don't, there's going to be a lot of changes coming for that team
Oh,
because
for
they,
sure.
like you said, they're getting older with you know Sidney
Malkin,
Crosby,
Crosby, yeah.
and those are superstars in this league, or they were. I mean, those are guys you want on your team, but now they're getting older. You look at even the Capitals, who are a pretty good team. They may not make the playoffs, and they have Alexander Ovechkin, probably one of the best scorers we've seen in this game.
Yeah.
But we'll move on to the NBA. I mean, I know my team obviously is doing pretty well. I'm happy with where the Nuggets are. They're the best in the West, 45-19. I know if you guys tuned into is it playmakers or play callers? Play callers with Cool McCain. Him and I kind of discussed how good the Nuggets are. They stand 6 games ahead of the Memphis Grizzlies. Honestly, going into this year, did I expect the number 1 seed? Not at all. I expected, a top 4 seed, but I was looking at it because you had Jamal Murray, you had MPJ, and they made a pretty smart trade to get Contavious Caldwell Pope, who's actually, who I'm surprised was not in the 3-point contest, but that's a story for another day, the All-Star game. But the guy is just doing great things. I mean, you also have Aaron Gordon and Jokic. To me, though, if you look at it, and we'll get into the MVP race here in a moment. You look at Jokic, he's averaging 24.5 points, 11.8 rebounds, and 10 assists per game. That's a triple-double. I mean, I know his points. I would like to see more points out of him, but then again, he's getting help. You have Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon. Jokic doesn't have to do it all like last year. And you and I saw last year, and the reason why they got beat in the playoffs is because they couldn't do anything. Once you bottle up Jokic, who's out there to score? There's nobody. As for this team, though, and I was really concerned about their 3-point scoring. They can hit threes at 38.9%, so I'm not worried about it now. But the thing is, though, you're looking at a team that could end up having home court advantage throughout the Western Conference playoffs. Unfortunately, your team isn't as good, and I'll let you explain what the Hornets are going through this year.
Let's just say a disaster. LaMelo Ball is out for the year. He hurt his right ankle. He sprained his left one 3 times this year. 3 preseason. The game he came back, he did it again. And the game after that, he came back and he hurt it. And then this last time, that's what done it. The thing I hated, and thank goodness we got rid of him, was Plumlee was holding us back. This guy, he put up double digits. Yeah, but I wasn't a fan of him. And then we traded him at the deadline. I'm mad we got rid of McDaniels. But the rookie Mark Williams is pretty good in his replacement. He's doing almost double doubles. The team, Terry Rozier is playing well. Kelly Oubre is playing all right. Gordon Hayward's So the team is going through a lot right now, and we're definitely a bottom team in the East for sure. We've got so much more work to do, going for years and years and years to come. And we hired the wrong coach in the offseason. I didn't want Steve Clifford to come back. Anyway, we got a few games coming up. The Knicks, I don't think we're going to win that. The Knicks are so good. We know they have Josh Hart, Brunson, so on and so forth. The Pistons, we're even level with the Pistons. They may be a tad bit better than us. The Jazz are an improved team this year. Lauri Markkanen's having a career year. And then we're playing the Cavs, where we're probably going to get absolutely destroyed. So,
Well, the
um,
Cavs are actually pretty good this year, considering they've got Donovan Mitchell, a guy that thank you, Utah Jazz, for getting out of my division. That's all I got to say.
but yeah, the Hornets are porous, a very, very porous team.
Well, yeah, you're going to go through some growing pains, and I know I had you on the show when Steve Clifford actually got hired, and even then you weren't like, why did we get this guy? And I understand that you didn't like the move. For the Nuggets, though, their upcoming schedule, I mean, they've got a tough game against the Raptors and the Bulls, but the Spurs, I mean,
But the
sorry,
Raptors are struggling lately.
they are, but I mean, it's a tough matchup anyway because you don't know what you're going to get. The Bulls always a tough matchup. And then you look at the Spurs. Spurs, to me, they're going through a lot of growing pains. And I really have to wonder if this is Greg Popovich's last year. I love the guy. I
If
mean,
it is,
it's got
I
to be.
think
I
it
mean,
is.
I like the way he coaches. And I just wish that team was better built for him for his last year. And I know we have one person on who's part of the show, the Zip Off, who absolutely, you know who I'm talking about, Megan. She speaks really highly of Popovich, and I do like Popovich as a head coach. The question is who's going to be the next head coach of the Spurs? I have no idea because I thought it might have been Becky
No
Ham,
one
but
does.
I thought Becky would have made so much sense, but then she went to the WNBA, which actually made sense for her to become a head
I
coach.
think I think they'll get a relevant name out there.
They're going to need to. I mean, there are a couple of names out there that I can't name right now that, you know, who was it? It was I think one guy that could make a little bit of sense is the guy who just got fired from the Atlanta Hawks, McMillan,
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
just because he has NBA head coaching experience. But who knows? I mean, what they're going to end up doing. That's we'll monitor that story once that comes out. So let's talk about the NBA MVP race. In my mind, there's three names that you could look at: Nikola Jokic, Joel Embiid, and I have to say Luka Doncic. I know Luka isn't in the same category as them, but I have to go with. I'm going to be a little biased. It's Nikola Jokic, averaging, like I said, you want to see the points higher: 24.5 points per game, 11.8 rebounds, and 10 assists, a triple double per game. The thing that I think is the reason why he's the MVP: 25 triple doubles. It's hard to beat that. But then if you look at Joel Embiid, he's averaging a double double every night, 33 points and 10.3 rebounds per game. And Luka Doncic, I mean, he's been lost in the conversation. I just don't think the Mavs are as good as they seem to be right now. But of course, they're still trying to figure out with Kyrie and all that. But he's still averaging 33.4 points per game.
So I'll give you my three. It's it's Joker, Embiid, Giannis, with
Giannis
Tatum
gets
and
from
Doncic, with Tatum and the Doncic on the outside looking in, maybe. But it's Jokic. Like, as much as I feel like the NBA would hate to give a three-time MVP, like they'd be like, "Are you kidding me? This guy again?" No, Jokic has been the best player all year. Like, whether you love basketball or hate basketball, you see what he puts up. Whether you like Joker or not, this guy is the modern day Wilt. Like, he's putting up Wilt numbers. But this guy's like killing it right now, and now he finally has help. Like last year, he had to do it all by himself, like you said. Now he has teammates he can feed to. That's where those 10 assists come from. Like, this guy is a beast.
he really is. I mean, the one thing I look at last year, again, had no help, and now he's having help, and we've talked about that. The thing that I'm a little bit worried about the NBA is there hasn't been a three-peat MVP since Larry Bird, and you're talking the 80s. NBA doesn't want to see a three-peat MVP, but how can you not give him the MVP, especially if he keeps putting up triple doubles? And like you said, he's a Will Chamberlain. I remember you asked me, I want to say last year or the year before, I can't remember. You asked me who the best Nugget is, and what was my answer? I said it's Alex English, but Jokic is going to be the better of the two once he gets going, and that's been proven right. I think Jokic is going to be the best Nugget player, and honestly, whether it's this year, which I hope he wins a championship, or next year or the next few years, that'll elevate him to even. I mean, he is a first ballot Hall of Famer. That's just going to elevate him more.
He's already a top 10 big man in my mind, maybe top 15, but yeah, we've stated it.
So we're going to move on to actually something that's starting on Tuesday, and that's the World Baseball Classic. For those of you that don't know what that is, it's basically a chance for Major League Baseball stars. I'm going to say other players. I'm just talking about like Japan. They don't, AAA players as well to represent their country. It starts Tuesday, March 7th and ends on March 21st. So basically a really quick tournament. But here are the teams in it. It's Australia, Canada, China, Chinese Taipei, Colombia, Cuba, Czech Republic, Dominican Republic, Great Britain, Israel, Italy, Japan, Korea, Mexico, Netherlands, Nigeria, Nicaragua, I should say, Panama, Puerto Rico, USA, and Venezuela. That's a lot of teams, but you got to love it. That's what you want. You want to see this tournament expand.
Oh, I love the WBC. I love it.
I will say the first year they did it, I can't remember how long ago that was, but if any of you go to spring training, you actually sometimes get a chance to watch these teams. I actually got to see Team Japan. I want to say they played the Athletics. But it was still cool to see these teams represent their country. That's what you want. You don't get a chance to really do it. Sometimes in the Olympics, if baseball's there, but again, that's for more minor league. It's not, Major League Baseball players.
These guys, you got the big names, yeah. I'll give you 3 teams that are potentially going to win it all: Dominican, Puerto Rico, and the USA. Dark horse, Japan.
That's funny you should say that because I have all those teams too. I mean, Japan, we know what they can bring to the table, and of course, if you look at one pitcher who's at the top of that rotation is Yu Darvish. I mean, if he gets going, they're going to be really tough to beat. And then the Dominican Republic.
You know what I love about the USA? You know what I love about the USA team? It brings me back to my childhood, who was on the coaching staff. Ken Griffey Jr. is the hitting coach. Man, it's a dream for these MLB players to be like, man, I got to work with Ken Griffey Jr. This guy was amazing.
I love Ken Griffey Jr. I actually got to see him spring training one of his last years, which was really awesome. I mean, I love Ken Griffey Jr.
Oh, yeah.
But if you look at the Dominican Republic team, and you were mentioning them, Johnny Cueto as a pitcher. I know he's not the star he once was, but still a guy who has pretty good stuff. Gary Sanchez as his catcher. You look at the infielders, and this is where I think they're going to get more of their power, is Robinson Cano, Manny Machado, Jeremy Pena, and Gene Segura. How can you beat that lineup? And outfielders, Juan Soto and Nelson Cruz. I mean, that's going to be a tough matchup.
Do you have the rosters in front of you?
Let's see. I can find the roster. Let's see.
I wonder who's on the Puerto Rico roster.
I actually have some of those names. It includes Javier Baez, Francisco Lindor, Edwin Diaz, and outfielder Kiki Hernandez. But I'm sure there's a lot of other people on the teams.
And then the Americans. I always forget who's on the American team.
Oh, it's stacked. It's loaded. This might be the most loaded team we have. You have Pete Alonso, Nolan Arenado, Paul Goldschmidt, Trey Turner. That's just the infield. The outfielder, Mookie Betts, Kyle Schwarber, and Mike Trout. What do they all have in common?
We're winning. We're winning. We want to win. We're playing to win.
The only question mark I have, though, is our pitching staff. You have Adam Wainwright, Lance Lynn. Pretty good names, but the pitchers I need to step up. They're actually, ironically, from the Colorado Rockies, are Daniel Byrd and Kyle Freeland. Freeland has some nasty stuff. We just haven't seen it in the last few years. But you know what? In a shortened, tournament like this, I'm sure if one pitcher struggles, they're going to go right to the bullpen and say, let's go to this guy.
Very true.
But if you look at Team USA, they're in Pool C with Mexico, Colombia, Canada, and Great Britain. None of those teams really scare me. Maybe Colombia.
I don't even know who's on Great Britain.
Yeah, let me see if I can pull up the roster, because I was really amazed that here we go, World Classic Baseball rosters. Let's see if I can name any of the Great Britain players. Oh wait, that wasn't the right website, but I mean, you're right. When I saw that, I'm like, who the heck is on the Great Britain's team? So let's see. Great Britain has, see if, honestly, well, there's a couple of Americans playing in it, but nobody I actually recognize.
Really? That's funny.
A lot of them look like they're AAA players, to be honest.
Not surprised.
Yeah, couldn't name any of these, and I'm looking at them. Couldn't tell you. But anyway, I mean, if you look at the United States, they'll play March 11th when they face Great Britain. They should end up winning that game. And of course, if they only have to really win one or two games, and then they'll move on to the quarterfinals on March 17th and 18th, and the semifinals will be on March 19th and 20th, and the final on March 21st. So, the last time they were in it, we won it all. And it was quite a surprise that we didn't win it before all this, because honestly, baseball is our sport. Let's be honest. We can say football, but baseball is America's pastime.
I agree.
I do think, though, Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico could knock us off just because of their talent. But then again, it's a short tournament. Who knows what's going to happen? I know a lot of people would be way disappointed if the United States doesn't even make the final. That would be a disappointment in my mind, especially with all the talent we have.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
So that does it for Under Review here. Well, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you and follow you?
So you guys can find me tonight on Basket Bros with Jacob Christner, Denzel Snipes, Dom DeRubis, and Scott Morganoff and Jacob Christner. Monday nights, I'm on the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel, Fire Up Michigan, with Jeremy B., George Eichhorn, and Scott Morganroth. Wednesday nights, I'm on Smoking Jeremy B's YouTube channel with the NBA Roundtable. Thursday nights, I'm on the Sip Off. And yeah, that's where you can find me.
So for me, you can follow me at Twitter at SportsScoop1. I have a blog that I write Mondays through Thursdays with podcasts on Fridays at sports-scoop.com. Of course, I am also on the South Florida Tribune. Unfortunately, I'm not on Fire Up Michigan, but on Tuesdays, usually Tuesdays, unless Scott moves it, I'm on 108 Stitches. Sometimes you can find me on it's inside the pigskin. I almost said under the pigskin. That's where my mind is at. With 108 Stitches, we have George Eichhorn. Love the guy. Great baseball mind. Rick Curdy always brings the insight. Sometimes it's Eric Katz as well as Scott. But that'll do it for us here on Under Review, and we'll see you next time, of course. Please subscribe to the Sideline Sports Network YouTube channel so you don't miss any of our great shows. Of course, follow us on Twitter. I don't know what our Twitter is, but either way, we have many ways for you to follow us and watch our show. So we'll see you next time.